So what are we doing?
Oh, hold on. Hello, everybody on Facebook land. I am Heidi Foy with Bullfrog Creatives. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As usual, we try to start on time and technical difficulties always arise. I feel like that is the definition of 2020. So today we have Mr. Blake Knowles, who was asking questions about how this works. And let me tell you, it works differently every week. So we're going to chat a little bit about your college rodeo career and kind of where that took you and where you are now. That's what it looks like. And because I know you, there's going to be lots of extra bonus questions just because I can. That's about it. How's that sound?
I'm in.
Okay. I feel like you just signed up for something that could go any direction. So give me just a little bit second here. I'm going to get this pulled up on Facebook so I can see if we have any questions from our viewers. Maybe. So I would, as some people know, Blake, you college rodeoed. We first met at the University of Montana in Missoula, go Grizz, although we have a very diverse population on Bullfrog Creatives, lots of Bobcats also following us, which you also were a Bobcat. So that's really interesting. So talk to me a little bit about your rodeo career and kind of what brought you to the Big Sky region.
So I don't have a real definite answer as to why the whole idea of living and going to school in Montana was so appealing. But I remember from a young age, like the second I even thought about going to school, probably in middle school, for some reason, I just was set that I was going to go to Montana. And actually, originally, I think that was probably mostly Montana State. At that time would have been the 90s, and they were kind of a powerhouse school. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it felt pretty natural. I mean, everything up there as far as, I could go somewhere that the hunting was fantastic. The snow is abundant all winter to go skiing, and the rodeo program was great. And, the schooling wasn't too bad either, I guess, most said. So I thought, well, there you go. It covers all the bases. So I originally went to Montana to check out the schools, and I went to Montana State first to check out that. And, it was just kind of a timing issue. They were actually in the middle of a coach change at that time. And I think I hit them on spring break, and everybody was kind of gone. And so the initial, I guess, connection never really came about. Mm-hmm. I had to drive right through Missoula also on that trip. And so actually my dad was friends with the coach there as well. So we stopped just to have lunch and kind of look around, and actually I saw some great things and decided to go there first. So as you mentioned later, I transferred around a little bit, and actually I guess I was trying to keep my fan base as full as possible, hopefully. Yes. Down the line, because I know that the whole college alumni situation is the most loyal fan base ever, whether you're talking about football, basketball, rodeo, or whatever. So I decided, rather than just having one fan base for the rest of my career, I was going to get 4 fan bases. So I went to 4 colleges and but got through and got my degree, and yeah. So
that's really good thinking. I don't think I would have thought about that.
No, you need to you got to get the most people on your side as possible. And I felt like that was a good way to capture everyone.
Yeah, that did it. So for any rodeo fans that have watched the NFR even a little bit, y'all should notice Blake's name, but you should know, so you compete. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to have you answer it anyways, because that's the way it's supposed to work. Blake competes in the steer wrestling at the pro level. What other events, or did you do other events outside of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I grew up, I kind of stayed involved in pretty much, I did every event except I didn't ride bareback horses, and I only rode bulls for a little while. So I rode broncs, and then I did all the timed events. And I remember a few times in my career where I kind of wanted to specialize a little bit. And lucky for me, I was kind of urged by my parents that, if we're going to go for the weekend and you're going to go, team rope or whatever, then shoot, you might as well be entered in everything. So that was kind of a trade-off. It didn't feel like I was being told that I had to, but looking back, it was pretty much I needed, as far as the bronc riding goes, it was kind of whatever. But, I wasn't going to just go team rope. We were going to go try to do everything. And, I think they were well aware that, when you're 15 years old, you don't know what you're going to excel at. You don't know where your talents might lead you or how big you're going to be someday or how little or whatever. So, I was kind of pushed and or helped, I guess is a better word for it. But, so I stayed busy in all the timed events and in a few of the rough stock as well. And I'm really glad I did, actually, because I think if you really look into it, if you'd asked me that question when I was 15 or 16 years old, I don't think steer wrestling would have even probably been much of the conversation. It was probably the very last event that I actually even started of the six I did. And, 20 years down the road, it's obviously kind of been the most successful for me. So I think it's a great lesson to kind of look back on and realize that, you don't know what you don't know. So you might as well cover your bases. And I think the more things you do, it just makes you better prepared to kind of handle all aspects of the sport.
Well, and I think one thing that probably your dad knew that you maybe didn't was that it would change over time, especially being a steer wrestler. You're not a little guy by any means. And when you compare your stature to other steer wrestlers that you're competing against, you kind of are a little guy. And so maybe he had that kind of in the back of his mind, and even more so as you've kind of grown up, like you've been able to pick something that would fit your physique, but then also your athletic ability, because you did compete in athletics in high school. Not that rodeo isn't an athletic sport, but oftentimes it kind of gets misconstrued as not being one. So I think for you to be able to do all of the things and not focus on one kind of speaks to how athletic you do have to be to compete in all of them.
No, I think that the general theme of all of my, sporting type career has been to be involved in everything. So whether that's working multiple events in rodeo or making sure I was signed up to go play baseball and football and basketball and whatever else may be going on, I think that falls right into the same idea of it. Just, the more things you can do, the more, I guess, bullets you have in your gun, because you don't know where you're, there's no, you don't know what the future brings. And so just cover all your bases, and there's a really good chance that actually ends up helping other things along the way. So,
So at what point did you, I think obviously when you compete in rodeo, like the end result, like the end goal, it's always to compete at the NFR. Whether you're a small child or even in college, like you kind of always have this dream to go there and to compete at that level. Like, when did you realize that it was actually feasible?
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone else, but for me, that's absolutely the case. I can remember, so, my father has done the TV now for the NFR for a long time, since the late 80s. So
Yeah.
as a young child, that was kind of, young, like junior high or even grade school. That was kind of our family vacation in a sense. We didn't really go to Hawaii or go to these places. It just, it just seemed like that, that was kind of where we all went down, and obviously Dad would be there the whole time, but we'd all go down for 4 days or whatever and get to go to the rodeo and everything. And I remember being very young and sitting there at the Thomas and Mack and just, I don't know, it was similar to the idea of going to college in Montana. It was just a certainty that that's what I was going to do. So at that point, even at a young age, it was, okay, how do I accomplish that? And so, that's made a lot of decisions easier because of that certainty and kind of what that dream was. So,
well, and I think, and I'm kind of learning this more now as I have more of these conversations with more national champions. And I think on some level, like when you look at professional cowboys that rodeo professionally that qualify for the NFR, like it's so easy to put them on a pedestal. And once you realize that they put their pants on the same way you do, just one leg at a time, like they're just normal people and they're competing for the same way that you did. Once you kind of are able to wrap your mind around that, then competing with them and becoming this at the same level of them is so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I guess what I would say to that is there are some people that absolutely, they just excel from the beginning and they enjoy, success throughout everything that they do, especially in this, let's just say in the sport of rodeo. And, when they're 19 years old, they've started rodeoing and they're on their way to the NFR, and that's awesome. But that is definitely not my story at all. Even though that's what I wanted, it wasn't that easy. And, I learned that I needed to develop different things as I moved along. And so, all of those different ways and paths are awesome. You just have to figure out which one's going to be yours.
So you mentioned your dad, which clearly I don't think we could have a conversation on a platform like this about rodeo without talking about your dad. It's not like you did not come from a line of successful cowboys. So talk to me about your dad. Talk to me about Butch a little bit and kind of what his history with professional rodeo is.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I think has been just awesome for me as a tool in so many different ways, as far as his, I guess, life experiences in and around rodeo and other things, but rodeo specifically has been so much. So it just it's creates this, I guess, reference that seems I can, when it comes to anything, I can always refer to, what do you think about this or whatever. So my father obviously rodeoed, and, worked all the events all the way through high school and college, won all around national titles in high school and college, I believe. And then went on, to the professional levels and eventually, focusing down on saddle bronc riding, not before he had quite a bit of success riding bulls and barebacks as well. But, and then he also was really involved in the judging program. Him and Jack Hannum did a lot of work together, and he did a lot of seminars and actually judged at the NFR as well. And and then I guess in the late 80s was asked to do some broadcasting, actually, for college rodeos, where it started in Bozeman, Montana. And then the timing kind of worked out, and was fortunate enough to turn that into what's been about a 30-year career, actually.
Oh
with
my
the sport of
gosh.
rodeo.
That's great. So let's talk about your dad won the average at the NFR. I don't know what year. Is that correct?
Yeah, 87 or 88.
That's what I was thinking.
Can't say for sure, but yeah, one of those two.
In the saddle bronc riding.
Yes, correct.
So, I mean, I think even that almost just like that one family connection of having that close of a tie with someone that has qualified to the NFR, not only qualified, but has done so well, also makes it that much more attainable.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe not necessarily as like, because he did, it's going to make it easier, but it does, because I think he understands obviously what it takes to the commitment more than anything, and so he gets it. And so that's one thing that's really hard, I imagine, for some that don't have that, is that it does take such a commitment in both time, money, and energy, emotion, all of those things that, if someone doesn't necessarily understand that, that could be tough.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just about you understanding that, but whoever is back home also has to understand that too, because they can't always be with you. So with his support, I feel like it's easier. And maybe not that like winning the average is more attainable, but I think just knowing that it's possible. Like, I know somebody that has done this. It is possible for me to also do that. just clarify a little bit. I mean, especially for me, I think I realized pretty quick that in order to do that, I was going to have to be on the road a lot. And I don't know if you remember this, but I hate driving. And so that was not going to happen. I can sleep in the car all day, but I just get real bored driving. So I think it just changes the mindset when you know somebody that's already done that or that has shown it to be done and has been successful at it. So, so we do have a few people tuning in live, and Joe has a question. We already talked about it, so I'm just going to touch base on that. Joe, Blake did compete in other events. He actually did all the timed events. He did ride saddle bronc. Totally do not remember that you rode bulls, which
That was just one. I think it was my freshman year in high
like
school.
a dare or something, or did you
and let me
choose
tell
that?
you what, I think I was entered in the Glendive College Rodeo in the bull riding my freshman year, I think, because me and Tyler Deline had a bet. But
and
I
you
think
lost.
I think the coach decided that was a bad idea, which it was
I was gonna
definitely a
say,
bad idea.
how do I not remember that?
It didn't mean that I wasn't going to do it. It just was definitely a bad idea.
Probably saved your life.
More than likely, or a bull's life, one of the two.
Right. Yes. That's funny. So let's talk a little bit about this year's NFR. First, the fun stuff. How do you feel about the new location?
I'm excited. I mean,
what are you going to say? I think it's
go
stupid.
over the positives and the negatives.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one is it sucks that it's not at the Thomas and Mack. I think everybody understands that, and not because the arena is so perfect, or the boxes are so perfect, or the competition is so perfect. It's just because, that has been the mecca of our sport for the past 30 some years, and everything about that town, the sites, that building, everything for a person like me signifies rodeo. And so when you put something on that high of a pedestal, and now to not be going there, it's a little tough. But I mean, when you really just think about it, that's not what it's all about, right? I mean, the competition and the end game and hopefully the financial part of it, that's what it's all about. So, and all of that is going to be the same. I was laughing with somebody saying that, we're always so upset it's not going to Vegas. Well, I mean, when I'm down there for the NFR, I stay in a motel. I stay busy, very busy with different PR type stuff and autographs. And then we go to the rodeo, and then I go try to have a nice dinner somewhere. And then we go back to the motel. And last time I checked, I can do all of those things in Arlington, Texas. So, yeah, I mean, but I would be lying if, definitely that's going to be missed. And fortunately for me, I have several other times that I have got to experience the Vegas NFR. And I really do hope that's the future for us. But I'm excited to see what it's all about. And I really am excited for the arena, that we're going to be competing in. I think potentially it actually has a chance to be competitively a better arena than what we're used to. I think it's going to be a little bigger. I think it has some small little technicalities that are going to hopefully create the opportunity for better performances as far as from the competitors and just better competition. So I think it's really cool that we piggybacked off of baseball a little bit. We're going to where they had the World Series about a month and a half ago. I think that's pretty neat for our sport. And just to put those two, pretty much our World Series in the same time frame and same venue as, one of the three major sports in the world, I think says a lot about where we are and something to be proud of.
So when you, and I guess this is for both places, when you qualify for the NFR, do you have access to like the dimensions of the arena? And I assume they're different. I mean, you already kind of talked about that. Like, so the difference in dimension, does that change how you prepare for the rodeo? And what is the main difference would you say?
So the Thomas and Mack is definitely one of the smaller arena setups that we will compete at all year. So with that, the boxes and stuff like that don't change a lot. So it's not like, well, it's a really small arena, so instead of a 16-foot box, it's going to be an 8-foot box. And that's not quite how it works. So what happens is the arena becomes super short. So with that, in the steer wrestling especially, the start is such a big part of my event, meaning how fast you can nod and leave the corner and not break the barrier. And so we do have to practice that. And in the Thomas and Mack, the last 10 years, it's been ridiculously fast. I mean, to the point where it's become an issue for even the gate man to hardly get the gate open fast enough, and it just,
because you're already moving.
Well, you kind of have to. You just have to trust that it's all going to go fluid. Like he's going to see or nod, it's going to open. Like you have to trust all those things. Where the rest of the year you have to react to those things.
Right.
So there's a difference there. I think I look for this year at Globe Life. I think that the arena I believe is 50 or 80 feet longer. Not a huge difference, but a definite difference.
But it does make a difference, especially in your event.
Well, even just the landscape, the backdrop, instead of the Thomas and Mack, which is a small basketball arena, we're going to be in a very large baseball with a high ceiling. And I don't feel like the animals involved are even going to feel quite the pressure that the fans and everybody right down on top. Now, from fan experience, that might not be quite as neat, but from a competitive idea, I think that it does have some advantages. So I think that in the steer wrestling, there's going to be a lot more left this year, meaning we're going to be kind of stationed on the right fence, and everything's going to have the tendency that if it wants to, it can roll to the left because there's so much left. If you think about a baseball diamond, we're going to be running somewhere around, we're going to be kind of running third to home. So that leaves pitcher's mound and all of first base in play that can, that animals can kind of move to. So, horses are going to have to be able to react to that, and just different dynamics, but not all are bad. I think there's some positives.
So more along the kind of sign of the times, what has changed, or have you guys gotten communication from the PRCA or from the state or anything like that, like what it's going to look like as far as keeping everybody safe?
Yeah, that's been a pretty significant topic of discussion in the last 10 days. As we all are aware, the numbers are kind of trending in the wrong direction, unfortunately. And so because of those things, we are, things are kind of heating up, and there is pressure now on kind of the different protocols that we're going to be under. I believe as of now, it looks like, we're all going to be tested, which that's the same as it's been in the other events that have taken place there, as far as the World Series and the PBR finals last weekend. And so, we'll have testing, and we will have kind of creating a bubble type scenario where the people that, so me and other competitors, as well as our families, that group will kind of try to stay somewhat quarantined and off to ourselves, and try to protect ourselves the best we can, because the last thing we want to do is jeopardize anything in that community. They've been graciously opened their arms and invited us to their town. And so, we don't need to create a huge problem. But I think one thing, it is an opportunity for us to show that you can have a kind of a major sporting event and jump through all the hoops and make it work. So
yeah, absolutely.
Fortunately for us, I think that we can kind of lead in that regard.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have another question from Joe. Will the score line be the same as it is in Vegas, or will it be a little bit longer?
It will be a little bit longer. From what I was told, actually the score in Las Vegas was actually going to be lengthened a little bit this year. They just, I don't have that's what I was told. I guess I don't know that 100%, but regardless, it will be a little bit longer. However, the score line will be what it usually is for us at a very fast setup. So it's still going to be really fast. Really only us will, as competitors, steer wrestlers, are going to really see the difference. From a fan base, you're probably not going to notice. However, I do look for barriers to be more in play, meaning out of 150 runs normally at Las Vegas. I'm just going to make up a number and say that there's 7 barriers. I don't know, but I would look for that number to maybe to double. Yeah. Or better. I just think that it's going to create the opportunity where you can in fact break the barrier on a good steer if you're not taking care of business.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, this is an arena y'all have not competed in before. So when you go to a rodeo for the first time, you've got to watch the line to see what the move is. And when you go to the NFR, even if it's your first qualification, you can talk to the other guys that have been there before and watch a couple and get it down. Whereas everybody's going to be in the same boat. You've not seen it before in this facility, in this setup. So I don't know, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out, actually.
No, it will. And I think you'll see some things like that in lots of events. I mean, the team roping, the team roping's actually going to have, like, when they rope the steer, I mean, the first thing they see is not going to be the crowd 10 feet from their face. They're going to have 100 feet of arena to tow the steer, and make a run. So, the calf ropers are going to be on the left fence. So, to a degree. So I think, potentially that could be in their advantage. So, there's some neat dynamics that, the barrel racing, they're going to have much more of a standard pattern. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I mean, it's not standard by any means, but it's also not 12 feet between the barrels like it is, so there'll be some interesting dynamics that I think could prove to be beneficial.
So just for a little bit of comparison, a lot of the followers that I have are from Casper, of course. I mean, we won't talk about how many of them are my family. But just for comparison for arena size, like, what does the Thomas and Mack look like and feel like compared to like the event center where the CNFR is? I mean, are we talking like the same size? Is it a little smaller?
Thomas and Mack is probably similar. It's been so long since I was in Casper. And actually, to be really honest, we can go back and hit on some of the other, I guess, questions earlier, which is I only competed at the College National Finals one time. So, college rodeo wasn't necessarily where I just really excelled. Mm-hmm. So luckily I didn't take that to heart and be like, oh, if I can't make it here, I can't make it anywhere. I just kind of, I don't know.
You didn't believe
I guess I was stubbornly dedicated, I guess, to no, I am good enough, I guess. So, even when it didn't look great, but no, it was probably similar. It's probably pretty similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just to give some of our listeners kind of an idea.
Yeah.
Not everybody, I mean, I think I've not been able to make it to the NFR. I keep thinking like, ooh, maybe next year we're going to make it happen. And then life, whatever. But so that's awesome. Let's see. So the other things I think that we can look for, as far as if you are not at the NFR this year, I think some things that you can expect to be different is what the coverage looks like on our TV watching end. I've already had conversations with Susan Knowles. She's talking about what it's going to look like to interview cowboys and cowgirls this year. I know it sounds like it's going to be pretty similar. The PBR was in Casper. It feels like a decade ago because 720 of those days were my quarantine days, but I think it was just in October. So when I did my interviews, they were in the arena and I was in the audience. So 6 feet away, they were wearing masks. Are you guys expecting something similar to that?
Yeah, I would think that would be probably
to maintain the bubble. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to look, I mean, I think, of course, TV is amazing. So when you're watching it on TV, they can make it look pretty magical anyways. Yeah. And so you're not going to really be able to see a lot of those ins and outs. But from your end, are there still autograph sessions? Is that still looking the same?
No, actually, I'm not sure, as far as the convention and stuff, unfortunately, I think with where we are today, fan interaction with the contestants, I just don't think is going to be very doable. Unless something changes dramatically, it just, we can't risk coming in contact and nor would we want to, I guess, aid in that. in any way. So it looks to me like, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but no, it looks like things, our days are going to be pretty tight and just kind of hanging
To the
out in our
rodeo
little
and back.
bubble. Yeah. Yeah. I just, unfortunately, I think that's kind of just the way things are going to have to be. I don't know that anybody wants it that way. And I know we don't. But I just, even as far as a lot of the sponsor involvement and any sort of, PR type stuff, I just think that, it doesn't look good for those
Yeah.
kind of events. I think there's ways like, so maybe we'll be doing some Zoom calls, or maybe we'll be trying to create access for fans through internet and Zoom, and, if, from noon to 2:00 on Tuesday, ask Blake any question you want on Zoom or whatever, whether it has to do with life or the rodeo or whatever. I think there are some new ways
Yeah.
to create a fan experience but unfortunately, I don't know that face-to-face is going to be one of them.
Yeah. That's what I was just thinking. You're going to have to put some live things up on your social media so your fans
Yeah.
can kind of stay involved.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing that, and I'll definitely probably be having some of these Facebook Live type deals, probably hosted by some of my different partners, and to where it's kind of all access. Ask whatever you want, or cover whatever you want, and go from there.
Well, so I would also add that I don't think that's a bad thing anyways. I mean, I'm sad to see some of that other more traditional community involvement and like fan involvement not be able to happen. And at least you're still going to be able to get something. And I would hope that some of y'all keep this going. I mean, I think one of the things that, and I've talked about this before, one of the things that I feel like the PBR has done and has done well is really marketing their contestants as athletes and really pushing them out there and promoting them as athletes, just like some of the other, you mentioned the kind of the main three sports of the US. So I think that this is one way that you as a rodeo cowboy can kind of take it to the next level also.
No, I agree. And I think that we are realizing that there are some positives to doing things a little differently. I think honestly, the normal NFR routine is exhausting at times for a contestant. I know that sounds, I don't mean to complain, because there's been a lot of years when I'm at home watching it on TV, and that is more exhausting. Don't get me wrong, feeding cows or whatever, but it's just sometimes, we can really sign ourselves up for a pretty heavy schedule, and you're trying to be everywhere, and the days kind of start early and they end late, which is awesome. I've loved every minute of it. But I think something more on this platform, something a little more personal, but at the same time allows kind of for a one-on-one interaction, it might fit better. I might be able to be at the room and do this, with Purina or with Wrangler, and maybe that's a better way to do it.
Yeah. So I want to give you an opportunity, since you just mentioned, I realize that a lot of what you do and how you do it and how you are still able to do it is because of your sponsors. So why don't you kind of roll through them real quick and we can give them a shout out.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate that for sure. And I'm very fortunate to have some awesome partners. And especially this year, I think that it's really shown that they're with you, kind of through thick and thin, because we had a crazy schedule and there was really no end game either. I mean, we all hoped and we were planning on an NFR, but none of us really knew to what degree that was going to be. So, no, I mentioned a couple more already. Wrangler obviously has been awesome. Purina is kind of a newer one for me, as far as I've done some stuff in the past, but we're coming together this year for the NFR, and we'll be doing some giveaways, and they've been awesome as far as, we've gone over different feed strategies when I'm struggling with maybe an old horse and he's just not looking how I want him to, or I have maybe some ulcer questions or something like that. There's always somebody at the end of the line or on the phone that I can call, and they can kind of help me through some things, and a lot of access there. And then one of my best partners is Vitelli. They're an awesome company, nationwide kind of deal that really specializes in some awesome cutting edge cattle reproductive services. So a lot of IVF. And so, you know, if you're in the club calf kind of world or purebreds, you know, you're probably very familiar with them and their services. But if you're not, then I would suggest you look them up, because I think what I'm realizing as a cow calf guy, you know, maybe not quite in the registered world, but there are some awesome benefits to what they do, even from a traditional cow calf producer. So, and then some local Oregon Ranch, Treetop Ranches, who's been awesome. And you know, they're kind of in some ways my silent partner, which is they're always there behind me. They don't ask for a lot, but they enjoy it, and I enjoy them. So it's been fun.
Great. I mean, I think that it's not having sponsorships and being on the rodeo trail is not anything new, but it's definitely something that has helped to keep rodeo athletes like yourself on the road. So I always like to give people an opportunity to do that. So we are quickly approaching the 1 hour mark, which tends to happen when we have contestants, when we have guests, suckers, or friends on here, however you want to put it. Let me do a quick run through. Blake, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate you struggling through Zoom and making it happen. It is a pain in the butt, but like you said, I think it's something that we're probably going to be stuck with for a while.
I just had Skype figured out. Like I just got
right?
to where I was in, and now I haven't heard that word in like months. I don't even
know
what happened. I
no
still
such
got the
thing.
app, but nobody wants to use it. I don't get it.
Well, I'll have to figure it out. Maybe I can use that. It's probably free too. So thank you guys tuning in. We had a pretty decent live watchers this time. If y'all have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you are rewatching, thank you for watching the replay. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'm excited. We did have some requests, so we are going to bounce back to highlighting some college rodeo programs over the next couple of weeks. I do have some things lined out for the week of the NFR. As we talked about, it's kind of wonky. We don't really know what it's going to look like for the contestants and for some of the media stuff, but I'm hoping to call in some favors, basically, Blake, for during the week, see if we can talk to some people that are in Texas for the event. I will, as always, communicate those as they come up. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also want to do a shout out to our partner, Cinch Jeans. This is probably one of my favorite shirts, also from Cinch Jeans. So looking for some Christmas presents, head on over there. I'd like to give you a promo code, but I'm still working on that. So maybe we'll get that worked into our next broadcast. Again, we will catch y'all next Monday, and y'all have a good, hey, oh my gosh, let's do one more question. 2 things you're thankful for.
Oh,
or more.
That's easy. No, obviously my family. That's a pretty good deal. I think that is a little generic, but very much true. And then rodeo, you know, coming on to the NFR, what a great opportunity that I'm going to get to have here in the next 15 days. So.
Yes, sir. So I am thankful for, listen, I'm going to get real selfish here. I'm thankful that today is the last day of quarantine. I'm also thankful for my family. We're going to get to go to Josh's family ranch for Thanksgiving, and it's always a joy when we get to go out to the ranch. So I'm thankful for that too. Okay, now we'll sign off. Thank you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. Make sure you eat all the things. I do not do 5Ks on Thanksgiving. I eat at least 5 times on Thanksgiving, if that counts. So you guys have a good week. We will catch you next Monday.